Here we go.
Good. You earned it, Lachlan. Epi, I don't know what you're talking about. The voiceover is top tier quality. And I think that it is just the prime example of what music is like. There is no better music software on this planet, music song, than this. But anyways, hello everybody, welcome back. We are going to, I guess, jump right into discussing the baloney that has been going on in this world. So let's start with the small news that everyone loves. Oh, hold on. I have to go confiscate somebody's Yi. One moment. This is more important to me. There we go. Where were we here? So last show was on the 14th with me. And what's happened since then? Well, rolling through the Ron tidbits, we had the Deca step down, but more importantly, we had the missile nuke auction go up. House Stark got cut from with their tie from TFP, which was an interesting adjustment. They are now, I believe, an M level with Guardian and an O level with Aurora. Actually, let me go ahead and go to Do Not Disturb. This way we don't get those dings anymore. The war update went live, and then just immediately the game broke right after. The game is still broken. Carthago and House Stark militarized. Carthago hit WTF. I blitzed Cajun, which we can talk about if you folks want to talk about, but I don't think it's particularly relevant. Dealt a couple hundred, few hundred million, and rolled through that. So that was fun. Then Libertas, after that, has splintered. Cajun stole the bank and is now, I think, head FA with whatchamacallit, Umbrella Corporation. Carthago cut their M with TFP, and then the missile nuke auction we will get to later, because there's something that I need to go over with this. 3.4 billion, Lachlan. So the infinite map glitch is here. More or less, it just lets you spam through your entire resistance of your enemy. So Sam Cooper did this to Borg. There's around 394 billion in Borg's offshore. Hive has around 9.125. So interesting things there. I threw a bunch of leaks up for Singularity, including one talking about how T-Gauze's announcement where he says he's going to make people regret him coming out of retirement. What else has happened? Don't go to whatever the heck Orbis Twitter is. It's a scam. The game is throwing things around very weirdly when it comes to war dates. The API update broke like everybody's software. And Black Skies had a mini war with Providentia, the Awakening, and Dawn Guards, in which Black Skies won. So I think because this 900B, the I think rather than go into the news, which I am going to ramble about for a hot minute, because we are more or less angling back into a very sharp. If you want to stretch it, you can call it tripolarity. But if you want to be honest, you can call it bipolarity. How many times has Alan fell now? Alan he really needs to see a doctor. I hear falling can kill you if you get old. And so he really, I mean, he's got to he's got to stop with those shoelaces. They keep getting tied together and it just has to stop. So let's talk about Skull and Bones. I feel like this is something that we need to go over. So for those of you wondering why we're going to talk about S&B, ARG's nuke auction ended with a $3 billion bet that originally appeared to be on just Skull and Bones. However, now has been told to be on Skull and Bones and Providentia as well. Because why not? And so they have a fairly even spread across their tiering. They had a lot of their infra. What were you guys at on average? Like 2,200, 2,250. So they had some solid infra, and they ended up, for whatever reason, being the target of the missile nuke auction. Now, I don't know why, am apparently one of, if not their top suspect for who did this. Despite a number of other factors and a number of signs that would probably point you in a different direction, like leaks that have Dusty saying he wanted to do this. For some reason, I am the prime suspect. It has been said that basically because I dislike Midgard, or not even because I dislike Midgard, because I've said mean things about them, that's the appropriate justification to now say that I was the one that paid for this. So I'm not sure what's going on internally over there, but I oh no, if you read their ROH, you would know otherwise. Ty. So we'll see what comes of that, but I'm currently, you call it what you will, Graybird, but I know otherwise. We'll see what comes of this. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. Well, see, here's the thing. Is you've got two ways to play that. You can either say Lysander is so rich, he bought Ron for XYZ. He probably is just rolling in the dough and has enough money to go ahead and throw 3 billion at this. Or you can look at it the other way and say Lysander had enough to do this, to buy Ron, and now he's probably a little more capital tight. Does he want to throw 3B at blowing SNB up? And again, let's reiterate here too. Where is my grudge against SNB? I mean, I guess having Greybird, Mega, and Durage all in the same alliance gives you probable cause to suspect me. But and Choke, that's valid. But at the time that I would have been buying this or bidding this, I was actively still agitating against Cajun and ROL, and even mildly harassing Serene Way, which is actually why I'm very glad I was not the one that bid on Serene Way. But I am so glad that they actually did not get hit, because I would be in for like a perma rolling if they had, because they'd blame me even though it wasn't me putting it on there. So anyways, I we'll see what comes of it. But if I am an alleged suspect there, that 3/4 of Midgard has a reason to dislike me. So all I need to do is go piss off the Immortals, and I will be the CV for the next Midgard war. So now we get into the big stuff, right? Now we get into the fun, the Blitz. Okay. So let's go over this now. For those, so the order of events here is fairly in question, but what appears to have been done is there was a slow militarization by TKR Sphere, and Florida and Cindy have went max mill after that. And so even if they both went max mill at the same time, ultimately really quite irrelevant here. TKR Sphere blitzes Florida. But it's worth noting they didn't do it alone. They did it with Syndicate, Aurora, and a day later, Carthago. Oh, and the Legion. This pretty heavily tilted things in favor of TKR Sphere. They got the upper edge on that initial area. Whether or not they'll maintain it, I don't know. I believe Florida still has a slight advantage in one of the C30 area tiering, but everything else is pretty solidly anti-Florida. So there's been a lot of recent discussion about this that I watched today, and to skip some of the lesser interesting things, Singularity's argument is they weren't given enough time to do their own thing and go off and, form their own ties, whatever. And they just kept these while they were merging and getting ready. I don't know that I buy that excuse, but because there have been a lot of rumors about them wanting one last war with their allies. So I don't think I really buy that. But at the same point in time, there's been a lot of finger pointing with TKR going and talking to Cindy just a couple days after Singularity merged. And so ultimately, what I do know is this war has guaranteed made Florida stick around for another war. Rather than let them break up or even do their last ride and then break up, TKR and company decided to blitz them. Which now, if I was in Singularity's shoes, or if I was in anyone's shoes who got blitzed, you immediately then say, well, fine, you've pissed us off, so we're not going to split, we're going to roll you. So now TKR Sphere is in for, they are now owed a rolling. This is guaranteed now. This is going to happen. TKR and company are owed a rolling. Does it help that goal for Singularity to then split? No. So Super Florida will probably stay around long enough to then roll TKR Sphere. Or if you'd like to call it by the appropriate name, to roll Honk. So Singularity stays tied with Rose to roll Honk. What happens after that? Well, they may split, but if then TKR Sphere doesn't, like there's been Tarok when we were on the Blitz show said that he would cut the treaty either one of two things, either as soon as Singularity cut theirs with Rose or just after this war in general. If Cindy does not do that, and there is literally no reason to believe they will after they've directly lied to people and called that FA, like just flat out, not even misdirection, just, yeah, no, we're just chilling, just doing things on our own. And then boom, a few days later, wham, hit. If that treaty stays, if Honk stays, there will be no reason for Singularity to split before or after the rolling of TKR Sphere. Somebody can pull the tiering, but I am 99% certain that there is no way for any other group to really take these guys on. So if I'm wrong here, correct me, but Florida matches Whelp pretty much on 27-30 and then crushes them on everything up except 45 plus is still contested then. But like, does 45 plus really matter when then you're outnumbered in 40-44 by 7? So Whelp won't beat Florida. Midgard won't beat Florida. No, so there are 3 spheres that are really semi-relevant. It's Florida, Whelp, and TKR Sphere. TKR Sphere and Whelp are fairly matched up, but TKR Sphere crushes Whelp 35 plus. Hell, TKR Sphere even beats Florida 40 plus. So if these groups don't split, then Whelp will have to make a choice. Because you can't stick around as a coalition that can't win. So this is when you begin to see bipolarity being bandied about, but it's actually a reasonable statement because you're at a point where staying individually, like Midgard might stick around because they'll just want to sit and farm. But if you're actually trying to be relevant politically, alliances in wealth will probably want to go tie themselves on to one of the two hegemonic blocks. And then you'll end up, for example, if you want to be relevant in some way, if Carthago wants to get into actual FA, not just going around raiding, you tie in, you pick. You can't be in both. You pick a side and you tie into it. So, and like, yeah, Monty, maybe that's not you guys, but like Aurora, that might be Aurora. What do? They got to tie in somewhere. Heck, even look at House Stark, right? House Stark was a Florida periphery. They've been tagged into Florida now by this war, and they can't really survive on a individual, their alliance centric policies. They're going to have to tie into someone, and since everyone's been throwing them into Florida, they'll probably just tie into Florida. You're going to see, going back to the bipolarity situation, this kind of thing. You're all good, Merritt. So who knows what's going to happen here? But depending upon whether or not people split, you might just end up with two primary blocks. Now, granted, Whelp with some additional force, like with Aurora or with Carthago, could potentially end up as that third wheel. But the question is, are those alliances interested? And then, even with them, are they capable of matching the two hegemonic groups that exist? I mean, to be blunt here, let's see, is House Stark included as Florida? House Stark is not included as Florida in this tiering sheet. And not including them there, it's even Florida is still outmatched by TKR Sphere. They've got almost twice the number of C40 to 44s. Practically twice the 45 to 49s, and then another 50 plus. So we'll see what happens, but this is absolutely where you see people going bipolarity and you're like, oh, we've been here before. Just the usual baloney. No, actually, there is a very real danger that by doing this, you cement Singularity in as a Florida member because you've already cemented them in as a Florida member for another war to go roll TKR Sphere. Depending upon whether or not the alliances that then get rolled are willing to let things go, or if they want to keep picking a fight and tying Singularity to Rose, you could cement two blocks. And that would not be great for anyone. Now, we have a few people here who I think could speak to whether or not I'm just spewing utter baloney. Not a few people. Epi is gone. We have one person here. Valini Vass. Talk to me. Am I just spewing garbage? If you're alive. You might not be alive. A lot of people tend to die when I do this show. You weren't listening. That's fine. Yep. Yep, you're good. You're good, mate. All good. Do you think bipolarity, there's a high chance of bipolarity given the increasing feud between Singularity and TKR Sphere and how they're kind of pushing Singularity into staying with Florida? Yeah, but Lachlan, that's not a question I can ask Vass because Vass has absolutely just been ignoring what I've been saying, which is 100% fine. See, that's one thing where Valini is always true to what he wants to do, given he's not even entered the war. He's only, it's hilarious, he's only countering Aurora. He's taking on one piece of the puzzle, but he's not going to get caught up in that Sphere stuff because he just flat out refuses to get in to Sphere and coalition politics. He says, no, we're doing this on a one-on-one basis, and he's rolling with it. Which is admirable. TKR probably is. So I can't speak to, listen, up until this war started, I was probably one of the people that dislikes Singularity to a vast extent in this game. I've had an outside discussion with Sketchy recently. I'm reconsidering my position. But whether or not I was not privy to and am not privy to whether or not Singularity was planning a last ride kind of war. For example, I don't know whether or not they were planning a war with Florida to hit TKR Sphere or somebody else, but there's really no somebody else. So probably just TKR Sphere and then split. But I did not see that, Lachlan. But if they were, or even if they weren't, TKR blitzing them here and in this manner, especially with Cindy lying flat out saying they were not going to do anything and then calling that quote unquote FA has really struck a nerve with a lot of people over there. You can go read Kigaz's announcement for yourself. By doing that, they have practically guaranteed. I mean, who else is Singularity going to tie into to go roll TKR and Co? Florida gives them a pretty strong shot at that already. So what happens next is they go and they roll TKR Sphere because they're pissed. So by blitzing them, they've guaranteed that Singularity will stay in Florida for another war. That I would put probably 80 to 90% odds on Singularity staying in Florida now to hit TKR and Co. back for this war. So now that they've already pushed Singularity into sticking with Florida for a while, the question is, what's going to happen after that? Is Singularity going to split after that? Are they going to stick around and wait? I don't know. But it really matters, because if they play chicken, right? Let's say TS doesn't split off. Florida gets somebody, goes in, rolls TKR and co. And then after this ruling, they're both sitting there playing chicken. TS doesn't cut, then Singularity doesn't cut. Well, at that point, you're back to Hollywood Celestial, except there's really no one else. Whelp is not going to take the offensive, especially when they can't win. So Whelp will either play third axis in the dynamic of Florida TKR sphere, Florida honk, or Whelp will split and they'll tie whoever they want. So Eclipse might go to Florida, TFP might go to TKR, that kind of stuff. But that's where we're at. So either if they don't play chicken, they don't play chicken. But I have a feeling if it gets to that point, they might play chicken. And if they play chicken, waiting to see who blinks, could definitely be pretty ugly for us. Now, what I want to go over as a subcategory of this war, and I know most of you, it's not really, it's not relevant to you. This is more of a fun portion here. The Imperium of Man has been hit by Empire of the Romans. Now, who here remembers Tiberius? Many of you should. There was even a trial about this in Ron. I was both the prosecution and the defense. So, for those of you who don't know, the Imperium of Man was a merger between Roman Empire after Tiberius split from it and Band of the Falcon. Roman Empire, when they joined in this war on behalf of the whatchamacallit, the ask Thalmor. Thalmor, it's pretty much U.S. court. They decided to include IOM in their declaration of war, which has now dragged Imperium of Man into the conflict. We are not at war with the entire anti-Florida coalition. We are just at war with Tiberius and his alliance. So we're fighting the good fight here, especially after they offered us base terms. We debated them, and then they tried to play bait and switch. So the reason I've brought this up is there are several of you here who might have an interest in hitting Empire of the Romans. I don't know. Maybe you have a grudge with Tiberius, or maybe you're just looking for a war. Frosty, you just, let's be blunt here. You just lost a war against Black Skies. Maybe you want a war to win. I don't know. Black Knights has said They will not defend Empire of the Romans during this war because they were the aggressors and they dragged an uninvolved third party, the Imperium of Man, into the war. So if any one of you has an axe to grind, you can grind that axe now without BK getting involved. That's all I'm saying here. This is if you want a war, you want some fun time, and you want to guarantee the protector's not going to get in. This is your one-time opportunity that I've ever seen where they're just going to say, nah, we're good. And you have open invitation here. Come sweep them. But for those of you that are wondering, maybe, why would you? I don't believe that for 1 minute, Merritt. I don't believe that for 1 minute. But for those of you wondering, why wouldn't you just, I don't know, sign a NAP, sign a white peace with them? Well, initially, the terms were, give me 1 moment, folks. I am back. Okay. For those of you wondering, why not? Why not just sign? Well, the initial stuff here, the initial terms were an in-game NAP, and all of the Rome bulletins go off the page. Germanicus clears his status, and we what was it called? We reset relations. That was the initial stuff. Then it was switched to all bulletins get cleared. We have to make a forum post recognizing Tiberius as the true emperor of Rome. We have to issue a public apology for the lies spread during the Bank of Orbis trial. And all Rome-related details are cut from IOM and any extensions until the end of time. Now, I don't know about you, but the end of time seems like it's a long way away. So, given those terms, we said, screw it. We're outgunned, we're outnumbered, we're on the back foot, but we're going to fight this. The reason the war as lost had nothing to do with you guys, I don't know, man. All I know is that you picked Providentia as an ally in that war. So that makes you a loser automatically. Like, just there's nothing else that I can tell you. You picked an alliance that went in with a lot of people under 25 man use a city. I just, no, you earned that one, man. You earned that one. Hey, Merritt, listen, if you guys want to mill up and you want to come have fun with us, come have fun with us. Like I said, this is an open invitation. But if if FSO is a little too cowardly, they don't want to get their toes wet, I understand. How do you know this, CCT? Why does time end there? It overflows? Goes back to 1970. Okay. Better years. We'll go back there. That's fine. Are you people genuinely serious? Is there something that's supposed to happen in 2038? There's a scientific thing about this. God, you people, you kill me. Go back to 1901. Jeez. Oh my gosh. That's gonna be that's gonna be fun. So we'll have to see. Have you guys heard about the theory that there was what? How many years was it? Um, theory. What was this here? Let me see this. Oh, so have you guys heard of the phantom times conspiracy theory? Yeah, the one the years 614 to 911 AD were just a fabrication to put the HRE at the year 1000. This is very interesting here. I don't know. I think it's fascinating stuff. So we'll see here. But anyways. What should we what else is there to talk about here, folks? I've invited you all to come roll Tiberius with me. But do we have other topics here? Yes, they did. Did you know that I helped with that, Merritt? Yeah. I attacked Libertas and then they blew up internally. And then well, no, I shouldn't say blew up internally. They boiled over. It was already boiling. They boiled over and then splintered again. No, I don't think I will. I'm City 24. That's not a cash cow. You want a cash cow, you need somebody at CCT's level. Yeah, Monty, I'm keeping myself in that range. I like it here. Danny, tax on the businesses is illegal. And if you try taxation without representation here, I will revolt. No, sorry, I'm gonna need that leader role. Yes, PNW GPT, which I have not looked at, and yes, it is absolutely bug filled. Something about anti air missile systems and electronic radar. That was funny. I enjoyed that. The anti-air. Monty made it happen, Danny. Yeah, no, the anti-air missile systems, Monty, I think were a bit off the mark. But it can be made to, Danny. Nukes are actually pretty cool. They're cool now too. ROL found that out the hard way. It's ChatGPT. It's what, like ChatGPT's AI capabilities, but based off of your own data that you've plugged in. It's not gonna operate the same way. Mm. Danny's an overachiever, but he's also a bit like me, and he does too much at once. I've even spoken with him about making a nation, not a nation sim, but kind of a nation sim in the past. Never went anywhere. It absolutely is, Merritt. You are absolutely overachieving there. You guys are just bloated. I'm sorry. It's not, you're not a macro. That's been the difficulty that I think I've had getting across to certain people is growth doesn't matter unless you're getting members. Like you guys are what, you're ranked 32, congrats, but you're 45 members. 45 members. Average score is 3153. Yeah, but what's the infra on that? Let's see that. Yeah, tiering gets costly and then infra, it's outrageous. Let's see here. What's the infra? Oh, yeah, 2K infra on average. It's not terrible. But it definitely means your higher nations are bloated because there's no way in hell your lower nations are running 2K infra. Where are we at here on infra? 2400. It's not terrible, but I don't understand why you don't go to 25. 23. Interesting. Yeah, 2400 infra seems to be the norm for you guys. Honestly retarded. I don't understand it, but okay, 27. There you go. Yeah. It is a name, Rare One. It is a name. That's the problem, though, Merritt, is it doesn't matter when you're only 10, 20 people. You guys have a bit more than that, but you're still low tier. Like, hell, I have a city 30 plus, you don't. So, when you've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 people, C10 and below, and then, I mean, you're in a really kind of rough spot. You're never going to be a macro. Not with that. And you can't just force people higher. Rather than bloat yourself, Merit. No, I'm telling you right now, rather than bloat yourself, you are far better off training them and getting them war capable and recruiting. You are far better off having 60 people and 40 of them are C20 or less, and you build them up as competent. They can fight, and then you run taxes that'll actually let you throw out grant money. That is where you begin building up a macro. But otherwise, you can just go and you can just be the Gato at that point. And I don't think Gato is the macro that you want to be. Where are they? They're ranked 21. They get macro title. Okay, here, man. I tell you what, I'll solve all of FSO's problems. Merge into the Imperium of Man. I'll solve every problem and concern that you have. I will make them war ready, trust me. And I will build an alliance that will be highly, highly recognized. But because you see, if I merge into FSO, then I have to deal with this democracy BS, and it's just not worth it. But no, the problem is macro is a very difficult title to have because you're not even really relevant at macro status. All that means, Merit, is that if I end up with an idiot in charge of the alliance, I have to deal with an idiot in charge of the alliance for 6 months. I am not dealing. I will pull a splinter before I deal with an idiot for 6 months. Merritt, I think you were about as close to a war dodger as you can get without being a war dodger. I will be blunt. I think you avoided war heavily in FSO. And if you didn't, then I think the people you surrounded yourself with did. And I think democracy breeds cowardice in this game. Because democracy incentivizes partisanship and bureaucracy. It incentivizes quote unquote systems which fail to allow response times, complicate actions, and limit your ability to respond to things. And democracy in this game, particularly in democratic oriented alliances, you're going to end up with people will not elect somebody that's going to take the alliance in a war oriented direction. Just flat out not going to happen. People are not going to sit down and say, yes, I want to go to war consistently. During your term of 6 months, I want to be in at least 3 to 4 wars. I want to be actively stirring the pot. No, that's just not, unless you're turning KT into a democracy, no. It's going to incentivize candidates that are going to promise safe, quote unquote fun wars, so dog piles, and it's incentivizing putting people in that are going to throw growth oriented things. So, but I'll be blunt. No, I don't think FSO can do anything because you guys, you're incentivized to suck. Is basically what democracy is. I fail to see the relevance, Danny. Court systems aren't even useful in the game, in this game, because the way that they thank you, Frank. The way that they'd have to be set up. Okay, so here's the other problem. Here's the other problem. Democracy does not work when you do not have a proper selection of people. You cannot, fundamentally, it is impossible to set up a 15-person Democratic alliance because a third to half of the alliance is going to be in Gov. It is fundamentally impossible when half the alliance, a third of the alliance, is being elected to Gov. It is fundamentally impossible to have it be a democracy that works. Because people end up, but you run with a cabinet, Merritt. People know who you're friends with and who you're going to appoint. And you're going to appoint people that like you and are going to run things your way. It's literally you're electing a dictator. But when you have that broad extent, if you have a parliament, FSO used to have a parliament, don't know what happened to it. The problem is when that many people are elected, there's never really a challenger. And it very quickly becomes centered around internal power negotiations and internal discussions on rigging things. The judges become bought. The robot is creeping in. Is the robot still here, CCT? Did we fix the robot? Is the robot gone? Okay, we're back. No, if you have a very select group of people that only so many people can get in, then you're going to end up with particularly if you do political parties, you're going to end up with a group of people that are bought just consistently by the head. And Erica, I'll point out as well, Rose has 240 people to draw on. And most of the people that run have experience. They have dozens of people that have experience. If you have, that's where you get into the member issue as well. Yes. If you have an alliance of 40 people and none of them have capable experience, boom, dead. Member quality and member quantity are very important when it comes to democracy. Yeah, Rose really kind of sucks. Let's all be honest here. They are just not that great. Their Milcom sucks. Their FA sucks. Their IA is evidently still of quality, and so is their EA. But in any external way that matters, they're dead in the water. But because Rose is what you call too big to fail. That's why they can focus internally and screw the external stuff, because they are so utterly massive that they don't need the external stuff. So there's no way that you catch up to Rose. There's really no way. Like, for example, Erica, I'm going to throw this in your face. You guys, I don't know what your taxes are. I know you're famous for the 1-1, but without a very solid tax program, you just can never catch up to Rose. And to catch up, the other problem is catching up to Rose. You have to both have enough funds. You have to have a bank for rebuild, and not just one rebuild, but a couple of rebuilds, because you have to be able to roll through a few wars. But then the rest of it has to be constant reinvestment. No, you can catch Rose through a merger. Like, Singularity has been spending fairly closely to Rose, although they had 180 people and they fell off. They're at 169 now. You could catch them through consolidation's the only way forward, Erico. Mark my words, you're going to see that. That's why you've seen TS and TKR signed together. That's why you're signed with Eclipse. Consolidation is the only way forward to beat the top groups. When you're at that place, you don't need to let other people dictate. That's why Rose is never going to go, oh yeah, we love minispheres, we're going to push minispheres. No, because minisphere Rose is literally just Rose. They don't need to abide by the rest of the game's rules. They'll sign whoever they want to sign and whoever will sign with them, and you'll watch everyone else consolidate around it. Excuse me, rants are a bit tiring, don't you think? Um, but yes, we'll see. It'll change. It always does. There's a cycle. But I mean, then the other problem you have is look at the top 10. Here, look at the top 15. Out of the top 15, let's throw some names out of here that really probably aren't worth anything. Weebinism, Way, Camelot could be worth something, but they're not because they've diplomatically isolated themselves. Carthago has currently stepped back from everything. Like, there are a number of people here, and you know what? I'm sorry, we're going to be brutal tonight. TI and TFP are also irrelevant. I'd argue even Aurora is irrelevant at this point, just because of how they've all sat out. Now, if they sign back in, yes, you'll have people that become names, but really, who are your key people here? You got Rose, Singularity, Eclipse, and TKR. Grumpy will circle and they'll make a massive impact. Cindy is semi-relevant, but with this move, they've really kind of isolated themselves. Guardian kind of sticks back on the FA, so does KT. So, yeah, everything after 8 is really kind of not that same step. Oh, and yeah, score wise, absolutely 7 to 8, big jump. But you can say the same thing from 1 to 2. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. We will see what comes of it. But what I would definitely be interested in is the idea of what Roberts proposed, which is a legislative alliance, legislative run. I would be interested in seeing that, but I don't. I'm not going to say. Let me put it this way: I like where I'm at. I'm not going to sacrifice what I have for an experiment, right? And I don't think many people will. Now, as a new thing, yes, I would absolutely be open to, this doesn't work out with IOM and I need to go do a new alliance. Yes, I would be open to reaching out to people and starting an alliance that is not based off of this executive format where we have, like, the head of a government department, we've got the leader, the VP being the 2IC, that kind of stuff. I'd be open to a like a parliament, not a Congress. I think a Congress is excessive. A parliament or like a ruling council. I'd be open to that experiment, but you'd have to see how that goes. Yeah, that's your problem. Everyone on the council has to have leader or heir permissions. Yeah, well, but there wouldn't be a leader, Danny. When I'm talking, there is just the council. There is no leader. Now you could have a figurehead that gets elected, maybe from amongst the council, like a chairman of the council, and that could go every month or whatever. I don't know. Details would be interesting, but it'd be I don't know. I would like to see what happens. And to be brutally honest, Atlas was never relevant in the first place. You guys produced Han Solo. Therefore, your argument is invalid. Yeah. Yep. But no, I I think there are opportunities for new ideas, but testing them out is a tough thing to do. For example, something that I'd like to pursue within IOM is, who here has studied the Mongols even a little bit? Remembers their history lessons on the Mongolian Empire? Anyone who has studied the Mongolian Empire, how did they get to be that big? How did their army work? So it was very successful how it worked. So one of the ways that Genghis Khan maintained control over the areas that he took was he actually married his daughters to the king or the prince of that area once he took it over. Then then they were forced to fight in his armies, and they got the honor, quote unquote, of fighting on the front lines. So he'd more or less take the kings of each of the areas he conquered, or the princes, the whatever, the heads, and marry them to his daughters and then kill them so that then his daughters ruled the empires. But the army itself was fascinating because they operated in units of 10. They'd have a group of, like, for example, your base unit would be 10 men. We're all combined, all work together. They were one unit. Then that unit of 10 would be part of a unit of 100, be part of a unit of 1,000, would be part of a unit of 10,000, would be part of the whole thing. And I think that would be a fascinating way to structure an alliance internally and put people in those groups of 5. Throw people in a group of 5, give them the internal structure, have a squad leader, then put them in like their tiering area. And then they're part of the military overall. And if you get to if you're row size, then you just have multiple groups of people within even each tier area. You have like 5 people, 5 different groups of people, 1 through 5, and they're all part of then the overall 1 through 5 tier. But the point is it'd be a great way to actually decentralize Milcom. But the other important thing, yeah, I would like to see. I'd love to see a legislative alliance tried. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't care about it being tried. I'd love to try it, but I don't have the availability to do so. We'll see what comes in the future. Okay. We'll see. If the availability comes, I might. Danny, you missed me half mocking. Aren't you part of Skull and Bones too, Danny? Yeah, you missed me mocking you guys for putting me up there as a suspect. That was fun. Lysander has much better things to do. You say all in good fun, but when your entire gov is putting me down as the suspect, and your reason is he said mean things about Midgard, we'll see what the fun is. We'll play the game. I'll play the game. I don't mind. Wink, wink. Sure thing. Oh, I know. I know who your suspect list is, Danny. I could riddle it off for you right now. But the fact that I was even on it is ridiculous. So disappointed in Singularity, honestly. I think not having a 33,000 turn bonus, they could do much better. They got to clean up blue. You've seen messages disappear here. Very interesting. Yeah, Bourbon. Oh, Providencia has to go. They've got to go off blue. The Spanish Lions has to go off blue. UCR has to go off blue. Got to kick all these people off blue. Come on. Some people do know too much. Many people. Is Monty still here? He is not. I can't yell at him. Oh well. So, the quiet people here. What's the next thing y'all need me to yap about? Oh, AC is Atlantean Council. That's funny. I didn't put that together. Frank, you usually have something to talk about. Gnome, you're too quiet. You have something to say usually. Aren't you Legion, Gnome? Ah, that's why. Legion, yes. How is that BS treaty with Bourbon Street, the baloney one? Is that just going to get dropped as soon as the TSTKR thing does? You're ahead of me. Good luck, man. Good luck. I don't think I'll ever end up in a macro. Or even just a larger alliance in general. Because there's no room for my chaos. I enjoy chaos. I enjoy causing problems. But more than that, I enjoy creating like the intrigue, the spin, the interesting things that make the game go round. And there's no room for that in a macro. For example, to join TKR, there's no room. Not for my shenanigans. Morph will never retire. The dude is ancient and he will stay ancient. Johnny doesn't plan to leave like TFP anytime. Like nobody plans to leave, and you don't just let an outsider in anyways. I Erico, the only macro that I've ever been in the history of my time in this game has been TKR. I still have the Slack app on my phone, and it has been probably over a year and a half since I've ever had to use it. Slack is not a concern. But the problem is I have no I have no willingness to sit in irrelevancy for forever. And I have no interest to be told what I can and can't do with, for example, Ron or my side ventures. Because that will happen in a major. They'll try to dictate that. They'll try to include that as terms, and I'm not up for dealing with that. So no, I see the fact that you let me in CCT says something about my character. Um but no, like I am interested in causing intrigue. I want to do things. I want to do unique things. I want to sign who I want to sign. I want to have fun. But I also just want to make things happen. I am not someone who is for this traditional stagnancy that most everybody in the top 10 is for. So that already disqualifies me, but on top of that, the additional garbage with it, I'm not suited for it. Like, I would love nothing more than to go join TKR again, but the only time I'll ever join them again, or any macro really at this point, is pretty much when I've given up trying to do FA things. That's it. All right, merge into me and I'll take care of that for you. No, so we'll see what happens, but I foresee myself sitting in micros doing micro things for a long time. Like, I love UCCT, but I don't know that YAR has a community to if I joined you guys and you didn't have an active kind of internal group, which I don't see why you really would, um I'd probably delete. And I don't want to do that yet. So yeah, I don't like complete irrelevancy. I'm a warmonger. You guys wouldn't do well for me. Yeah. No, so we'll see, but I think like I had a merge offer for IOM with some big names attached, but we shot it down because it meant turning away from the vision of what we wanted to do. And that's what you have to do um in life, and it stinks, but I don't want to become a macro at the cost of being able to influence anything. You know, like the goal is not, oh sure, let's push ourselves to macro, but give up gov to an outside group. That's not that doesn't make sense. And on a personal note, it doesn't make sense to go sit for 80 years in irrelevancy to get to a point where then I'm going to be constrained by what they want anyways in TKR and any alliance, when I could just have fun doing goofy things in a micro. Yeah, Ty, go join S&B and get nuked. It sounds like the best strategy. Well, if you the offer's there if you'd like to come roll Rome. They're literally as free of a hit as you can get. So anyways, that's the other difficulty with any mergers is A, the communities sometimes don't mesh, and then B, Gov can be a real pain in the arse. Real pain in the arse to figure out. I think I get to go ahead and do final call here. What else do we need to go over? What have I missed? What should I go over? We got anything to review? Is the new Milcom man? Do you have anything? You usually have some late question. He's typing. Fantastic. So the lottery, I'm set to make an amount of money that I'm not willing to disclose at the current time off of it, but it is an enjoyable amount. Let's see here. Not insignificant. It is not easy to sit and collect. I've not had an ad in ages, but we're working things through, and so we will see how things go. But my goal is to find ways to monetize it unobtrusively and go from there. In terms of the vision, we are doing a full-blown moderation review and update here soon. So we'll see how that goes. But all in all, I think it's going well. It's certainly different than I expected, but I will say the nice thing is it has encouraged me to actually be more active in that community. I have a stake in that community staying active now, and it's kind of drawn me in to work with it a little more, which I appreciate and I have enjoyed so far. You So we'll see how it goes, but at the current rate, if we can keep this up, and then the other thing I'll point out, right, is like on this lottery, uh, I had to put up the initial pot, the 650, out of my own pocket. So that naturally cuts into any profit that you'd get from a lottery. And but even with that, I am still like we're in good shape. But if nobody, which somebody very well might win the jackpot here or whatever, and all 100% goes out. But if somebody does not, then the pot, whatever the half that's there, gets rolled over. Was it like 40%, 45%? Let me see. I don't remember what my numbers are. Ticket buy, yeah, 45%. So if nobody gets the 45% and we're at 1.75, you're already starting the next one with like 788 million. So you're already starting it higher. And we might end up at 2 if people buy more tickets, which I encourage all of you to go do, given we're already almost at 2. So you put a bit more in there, put some money in there, and it'll be at 2, I guarantee you. So given that, I mean, then you can swing that into the next one, and the profits from that would be even higher because I won't have to put up and cover the initial pot. It'll already be paid for. So if you already start with 800 million paid for by the lottery, then every piece of the ticket that you take is pure profit. You're not recovering the initial pot. You're talking pure profit. But it also means you don't have to necessarily take as large a cut to recover that initial part, which means that the pot will go higher too. So yeah, I think ultimately it's in a good position. There have been controversies, and there'll continue to be controversies, but so far there's been nothing that really makes me tear my hair out. In what sense? Like for this? No. Anyone that wants to get relevant news will join Ronald. Will find it on their own. And to be blunt, we don't care about new players. Like, month-old players. They're not going to contribute anything to Ron. So pulling them in isn't exactly a priority. They're not going to spur conversation. They're not going to buy anything. They're just there for giggles. So, like, having them there, sure, why not? I'm not going to turn them down. But right now, no. Now, I am working on the newbie stuff. We will probably open some of that up at some point. But even then, they're not our main clientele. Yeah, so Ron has received accusations about being biased, which fair enough. But the only other one that you'll see is really probably DNN, which is more troll than anything else. Micros do not kill the game. Macros kill the game by not training micros. You let the innovative new talent die, you mock it out of the game, and you roll it out of the game, or even worse, leave it to utter insignificance. By leaving all of that to die, the macros are at fault for that. I don't think that micros help when they're run by incompetent people who more or less kill player base. But macros and their unwillingness to work with prots is a huge detriment to the quality. That's why micros are so low quality. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not easy. You need to know someone, and nobody's willing to take a chance. It sucks. There you go, Erico. That's something for you to do, and you too, Gnome. Take back home and give Prots a chance. Give the nubs some love. Don't kill the nubs. All right, Danny, let's hear it. What's the problem? Educate me. Okay, so macros should not be tied. As yeah, Monty Tiberius was dumb enough to hit Germanicus, so we ran with that. Uh there are internal issues within many nanos and micros being unwilling to take the advice of their protectors. But a lot of macros ridicule their prots and are also very rigid in how things have to roll. They've got a set list of this is what you have to do. If you don't do it, you're gone. And that kills a lot of these smaller alliances in their willingness to work with people. So I don't know. Um, I believe that, Erico. I believe that, but let's see. Where am I? So I'm trying to multitask here. Um, Multitasking sucks. Yeah, it depends on the one you draw. Some of them, I admit, are beyond help. Some of them just haven't had it explained to them, or they need to take it. Then they need to learn the hard way there. Yeah, this is the other issue, Erico, is when they're actively told to buy farms and the tutorial guides them wrong. And so when that happens, they're kind of, you know, the other problem, but let's really, if we're going to be honest here, the other problem is in how the game is marketed. So when you market the game as a role play build your own nation simulator, when in reality it's a highly optimized community game, you naturally draw the wrong kind of people. You should, like, you're not going to bring he's trying to advertise to nation states people. Nation states people are not who you play this game. Like, that's not the audience you want to draw in. That's not the goal. So, anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Final call, politics and war. I am semi-tired and I have to go deal with more baloney. All right, I see nothing new here. So let's do that.
Lysander Radio, Lysander Radio, Lysander Radio. Yeah, here we go. Lysander Radio, Lysander Radio, Lysander Radio. Yeah, here we go. Lysander Radio, Lysander Radio, Lysander, here we go. Now watch him go. Ladies and gentlemen, Lysander Radio. Now here we go.
Good night. Have a good evening, folks.